In this video, why you can have a better retirement in Mexico. With its affordable cost of living, vibrant culture, accessible healthcare, and proximity to the US, Mexico has become a top destination for American and Canadian retirees. In 2025, with over 1.6 million Americans living in Mexico, many of them retirees drawn to its lifestyle and financial benefits. We'll cover why Mexico is ideal, from costs and healthcare to residency options, taxes, and lifestyle perks, plus key considerations to make your retirement smooth. So let's dive in. First things first, let's talk about the cost of living, one of Mexico's biggest draws. Compared to the US, Mexico offers a significantly lower cost of living, obviously, often 50, 60, even 80% less depending on the city. For a comfortable retirement in popular expat hubs like Puerto Vallarta, Ajijic, or San Miguel de Allende, you can live well on $1,500 to $2,000 a month, while couples maybe $2,500 to $3,500 a month. Worth keeping in mind that the hot spots with all the expats are like 2-3 times more expensive than what I would call real Mexico. So that means living in San Miguel is going to cost you 2-3 times as much as it's going to cost you to live in Guanajuato, which is a real normal Mexican city. If you want to be in Ajijic versus maybe another part of Lake Chapala, it's going to be significantly more expensive to be in Ajijic. If you want to be in the expat areas of Puerto Vallarta, compared to, say, elsewhere in Nayarit or elsewhere on the Jalisco coast, it's going to be 2 to 3 times more expensive. So just keep that in mind when we talk about the numbers of living in Mexico. It varies super dramatically in terms of what's important to you. Is it important to you to be around expats and English speakers and in these hotspot vacation type areas? Or do you want a more, authentic Mexican experience? Because it's the same as the US, right? If you want to be in, the best parts of Manhattan or the best parts of Dallas or the best parts of Miami, obviously it's a lot more expensive than just being in a normal Miami neighborhood. So keeping that in mind, everything, it's really rent that's the biggest variable. It's really rent that can range anywhere from $150 to $1,500 a month to $4,000 a month. So it really just depends on you, but there's lots of people that spend $150 a month on rent in Mexico. So it's totally up to you. And then once you have that variable out of the way, groceries are super cheap. You have local fresh produce, local markets keeping costs low. I love going to what's called the Mercado Municipal, which is like the city market where, they have all the fruit vendors and they have the meat guy and the chicken guy and the seafood guy and, a guy, what's it called? The people who do the shoes, buckler? Anyway, like the people who, fix shoes, a cobbler. There's like a shoe cobbler, and anyone who's been to a municipal market in Mexico or Latin America knows what I'm talking about, where they just have everything and it's super affordable. Dining out is super affordable as well, usually less than $10 a person, less than $15 a person. You can go to these local fondas, or basically these local Mexican places where you get the full meal for like 60, 70 pesos, which is the equivalent of $3-4. And they give you, the juice and the coffee and the tortillas and then the meal. And you get all this stuff for like $3-4. Of course, if you want to go to fancier restaurants, mid-range, upper middle class, fancy type restaurants, it's still going to be less than half the price of the US because the tipping is less in Mexico, where you're looking at 10% tips, and there's no taxes as well. The price is the price. So the taxes are less, the tip is less. Well, maybe there is a bit of tax, but depends where you go. But the tax is less, the tip is less, the cost of the food itself is less, the alcohol is less. So every aspect of dining out is way less. Me personally, I love just sitting in a plastic chair and getting some tacos or a torta or just whatever local stuff they got, and then I'll pair that up with like like a papaya drink or a watermelon drink with like freshly made fruit, and it's a good life. So bottom line, you're gonna have a higher quality of life, at least when it comes to eating out, because you're gonna have way fresher ingredients without draining your savings. Most of the food in the US is actually imported from Mexico, whether it's the coconuts or the avocados or the mangoes or, all the different fruit. A lot of it is imported from Mexico. So why not just go to the source and you're going to get way fresher food? It was never frozen. It was never on a shipping container. It was never on a truck 2,000 miles. And so the food is the first reason how not only is it less expensive, but it's actually a higher standard of living because it's higher quality food, and it's actually made by people who care. The food is prepared by people who care. It's not prepared. Well, I don't want to disparage, U.S. food workers, but you know where I'm going with this. I would rather my food be prepared by Mexicans than whatever people they have in the back of those U.S. kitchens. Moving on, the next topic is healthcare. Another major reason retirees flock to Mexico. The country offers high quality, affordable medical care through both private and public systems. If you are a resident of Mexico, you have access to the public healthcare system. So we at MyLatinLife, we're a full-scale immigration, residency, citizenship tax consultancy. We can get you residency in Mexico. We help retirees and families get residency in Mexico every single day. We help people get Mexican citizenship by descent if you have Mexican parents or grandparents. So it's literally one of the most popular things that we do. And as I just mentioned, once you're a resident or citizen, you'll have free public health care in Mexico. Now, I realize a lot of expats don't want to go to the public health care, public hospitals in Mexico. Me, I've only gone to the public thing like once or twice for like really basic stuff. For most stuff, I go to the private hospital, and the facilities are amazing. And we also go to there. It's not in the hospital, but they also have these places that they take the MRIs and the blood work and the scans. And they have all these like scanning centers where, if you break a bone or whatever, you just go to these scanning centers and you pay less than $100, and they do the MRIs and the CAT scans and all that stuff for super, super affordable prices. Even if you go to the emergency room at a private hospital in Mexico, it's not expensive. This happened to a family member of mine. They were visiting me in Mexico. They had to go to the emergency room. We were there all night. They got seen right away, private room. Doctor spoke decent English. And, they were checking up on us and like really good care, a lot better than it would have been in the US. And then the bill at the end of the day was like $120. And I just put that on my credit card. Boom. I didn't need health care. I didn't need insurance. I just paid the $120 out of pocket. Super simple. And that's what it is. I mean, private health care, a lot of people don't even get health insurance in Mexico. You definitely can. It's very affordable, actually. It's often less than $100 a month for an individual, and even for a family of three, it can be less than $100 a month. Call it $1,000 a year for private health insurance. Or a lot of people just pay out of pocket because when something happens, it's usually under $100 anyway. So a lot of people also go to the US for prescriptions. I'm sure you've heard. Every prescription, a lot of these things are actually over the counter in Mexico, so you don't even need a prescription. You don't even need a doctor's note or a referral. Canada absolutely sucks in this regard. In Canada, nothing is over the counter. And so you have to, go to a doctor to get the referral, but then there's a huge wait to even get to the doctor. And if you go to like a walk-in clinic, they charge like $100 for the referral just to get you something that over the counter would be like $4 in Mexico. It's incredibly cheap. You don't need doctor's notes for pretty much anything. And the stuff that you do need a doctor's note for, maybe you've heard of Dr. Simi, or basically you can get these like on-site doctor's appointments at the pharmacy. So they literally have a doctor on-site at the pharmacy, and you pay literally 50, 60 pesos for this appointment. So $2, $3 for this appointment, and he'll write you the doctor's note basically for free, just included in the cost of the $2, $3 appointment. And then you just go to the next counter and you order your prescriptions, and you can just get literally everything you want. So a lot of people in the US who live near the border actually drive over the border and get their prescriptions in Mexico. Similarly, a lot of people who live near the border, and just a lot of people in general, do their dental work in Mexico, where a root canal might be $200 versus $1,500 in the US. So I have friends, they come down to Mexico and they do their cleaning, and they get their teeth cleaned for like $30 instead of almost $1,000 back home if they have a cavity. In the US, it's like $250 per cavity or more for like the fillers or whatever it's called. Come down to Mexico and it's literally a fraction of that. So just by doing a cleaning and filling in, a cavity, it literally pays for your whole trip to Mexico. And then you can also go to, physiotherapy. You can get your back cracked, for like $30. Get a massage, all that type of stuff. Super, super cheap. If you have any type of surgery, knee surgery, you want to do that hair replacement thing, laser eye surgery, all that stuff is way more affordable in Mexico. The next thing I want to talk about is pensions. So accessing your US or Canadian pension in Mexico, it's very straightforward, making it a practical retirement base. Social Security benefits can be deposited directly into a Mexican bank account via the US-Mexico International Direct Deposit Agreement. Seriously, I think a lot of people don't know this, but over 700,000 Americans abroad already do this. The payments are converted into pesos at current exchange rates, and so you just basically get the pesos in your bank account ready to spend. So the average U.S. Social Security benefit as of 2025 is about $1,900, enough for a very comfortable life in most Mexican cities. And if you have a private pension like a 401k or IRA, that can also be transferred to Mexican accounts, though there might be like a $20 to $50 fee per transfer. So just look into that a little bit. But bottom line, very easy to access your pension in Mexico. Next topic to address in the video is taxes, a critical consideration for retirees in Mexico. U.S. citizens must file annual U.S. tax returns, reporting worldwide income, including Social Security and pensions. If your combined income, adjusted gross income plus non-taxable interest plus half your Social Security, exceeds $25,000 for individuals or $32,000 for couples, up to 85% of your Social Security benefits may be taxable. However, the U.S.-Mexico tax treaty prevents double taxation. You can claim a foreign tax credit for any Mexican taxes paid, though Mexico's tax system is residence-based, taxing only income earned within the country if you are a non-resident. If you're a resident, things get a bit more complex, and we have other videos on the channel talking about Mexico's tax system and tax residency in Mexico. If you're spending more than 183 days annually in Mexico, that's definitely something that we need to talk about. Retirees often hire cross-border tax advisors to navigate these rules. And again, at MyLatinLife, we have US CPAs and accountants to help with the US side. In Mexico, we have lawyers and accountants that can handle the Mexico side, and we can bring that together in a holistic way. So if you feel like you need help with cross-border taxes between the US and Mexico, or between Canada and Mexico, link in the description to book a call with us. Moving on to the residence visas a little bit. So there's the temporary and permanent resident visa. Residency options make retiring in Mexico accessible. And really, if you want to retire in Mexico, you really want to get residency. You can be in Mexico on a tourist visa. You can do visa runs. You can overstay. You can actually get pretty decent runway just with tourist visas in Mexico. But in my opinion, it's not a stable long-term solution, even if you're doing the visa runs and kind of attempting to be above board with it, because all it takes is for the border agent to only give you 14 days or 28 days instead of 180 days. And you're in a really bad position if you have a 6 or 12-month lease in Mexico, right? So to make Mexico a long-term base where you can do a 6-month lease, a 12-month lease where you can spend time there, get a house, get a car, do all these things to make Mexico feel comfortable, you're really going to want to get residency. Now, we have a ton of videos on our channel about temporary and permanent residency in Mexico. Suffice to say, if you're a retiree, I can pretty much guarantee we can get you residency in Mexico. You do not need to invest any money. You simply need to show financial means, either through income or through savings. There's an income test, there is a savings test. You only need to meet one test to qualify. So again, link in the description to book a call with us to get residency in Mexico. And by the way, once you have residency, we can get your driver's license in Mexico, bank accounts in Mexico. For some people, they're doing the Recico tax regime in Mexico, especially for the non-Americans. So there's lots of things that we can do there. Lots of benefits open up to you once you get residency in Mexico. And you also get discounts on a lot of stuff. You get free museums on Sundays like all Mexican citizens do. You get discounted access to places like Xcaret in the Riviera Maya. I've gotten discounts on boat rides in Los Cabos and different things like that. So it's pretty cool. So who is retiring in Mexico best for? It's ideal for retirees with Social Security or pensions who are seeking affordability and a vibrant lifestyle. It's ideal for retirees who haven't saved enough for retirement. If you don't have $1, $2, $3 million or more, it's very difficult to retire in the US. If you can't live off your passive income, it's very difficult to retire in the US. So you can come down to Mexico with a very moderate or modest pension, and you can live very well on less than $1,900 a month, which is the average pension that Americans are receiving. $1 million retirement money goes a lot further in Mexico than it does in the US, that's for sure. And people with health concerns benefit from cheap quality care, while snowbirds love the proximity to the US. And for the non-retirees, for the digital nomads or the semi-retired folks or the families, this is also a great option. Latin America, Mexico, you can retire early. You can be 40, 45 years old and basically retire in Mexico if you have a little bit of savings, if you have a little bit of passive income, maybe you have a rental property in the US. You can basically retire early in Mexico. I mean, I'm in my early 30s and I basically feel retired because I have a nest egg. I have remote income. I basically feel retired. I mean, living on the beach, going swimming every day. So it's a great thing for everybody. We didn't even get into the angle with the foreigner and income exclusion as well and how that can help lower your taxes, or how for Canadians, how you can leave the Canadian tax system and help lower your taxes that way. But even beyond the tax thing, I think Mexico is a great way to retire early. It's a great way to get your family out of the woke US Canadian system where homeschooling is much more legal and doable, where you have a lot less of these bad influences that you have in the US and Canada. So we see a lot of families making the move as well. For couples and single adults, of course, Mexico is a great place to be single as well. Great place to be a couple looking for that community. We see a lot of couples that are into like hippie stuff and they want to be in like a jungle community or something like that, or they want to live on the beach. Most young couples in their 20s or early 30s, they can't afford to live on the beach in the US and live right on the beach and be a 2-minute walk to the beach and go swimming every day. That's an extremely expensive lifestyle in the US. But in Mexico, it's accessible for pretty much anybody making a couple $1,000 a month. So in summary, I think Mexico is something to offer everybody, well, whether you're a single or a family or retiree, early retirement as well. There's something for everybody in Mexico. And when you start doing the research like you're doing with this video, and you see how US pensions are easily accessible via direct deposit, how you have the Social Security Fairness Act to ensure full benefits, how you have the US-Mexico tax treaty to minimize double taxation, how residency is super easy to get, how, healthcare is incredible in Mexico, how, you have all these things adding up, all these factors, and it just makes Mexico an absolute no-brainer. So I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If so, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell for more expat retiree tips, and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever considered retiring in Mexico? What's holding you back? Do you have other destinations in mind? Where in Mexico would you like to retire? We'd love to hear from you guys, so leave a comment below. And until next time, keep planning your dream retirement, and we'll see you in the next video.